Hi guys, my name is Badmos and I'm here to talk about Docker and Dockerfile essentially. So I'll quickly get into it. So what is Docker? Docker is all about container management. What are containers? Containers are like instances of your image. So what's an image? An image is like a blueprint of how you create your project on a pipeline, on a web service, such that it can run seamlessly. So how do you create an image and how do you create a container is where dockerfile comes in. You use the dockerfile to build your image, then you are able to run the image, and when you are running the image you've already created a container to run your file. So basically all the things required will be inserted into the dockerfile. Now what that translates into is that every setup you need to do in your Docker, in your system, every setup you need to do, like if you're given a new system, for instance, now, and you want to set up a Python project, you will need, if it's a Windows system, you will need to download a Python installer. You will need to download, let's say it's an automation project that you want to do, you need to download Selenium, you need to download a Chrome driver, you need to download a Behave if you're going to do a BDD framework. You understand? So that is essentially everything you're going to do. And remember that you need a Chrome browser as well. So all those things that you actually need to do locally, you have to put those instructions in your Docker file. And let me just add that Docker file obeys Unix command. It recognizes Unix command. It has its own keywords that it uses to execute these Unix commands. So you can come to this site, just Google anatomy of Docker file, and come here. This guy did a very good job highlighting all the key points and how you use them. Yeah, but later in a bigger video I would explain the difference between a CMD and entry point. I'm just doing this as an introductory video, so let's quickly get right into it. So this is what I'm going to do. How do you create your Docker file? So people have done a lot of videos. You must have you would agree with me that you've seen videos of people doing so many things about Docker and you still don't understand it. It is because you don't understand what they are trying to build. Now I'm going to use a Python automation project to explain. So what I'm going to do essentially is I'm going to try to build my project from scratch. I will try to build my project from scratch so that you will see how I'm setting it up. Then all the commands I use to set up, I will now put in the Docker file. I think that will make more sense because it will essentially tell you what you need to do. So what you need to do is understand the project you're creating and understand the things you need to set up the project. So I am going to come to my terminal to just try to do something like that. And how do I intend to do this? It's quite simple. I will create a scenario here. I would create a project which I've initially created inside a Docker environment. And what will I do? I will pull a Docker image and I will bash into it. So let's do this here. So if I've already pulled a Docker image, I can get that by doing docker.images. And the Docker image I want to pull, I'll be bashing into is a Python Docker image. Now if I do a Docker run, it will run the image for me. If I see Docker run Python, it runs the Docker image for me. It should run it, but there is nothing in it, there is no instruction in it, so there is nothing to run in the Docker image, so it makes a lot of sense that it stops. But if I do this, if I do a Docker run interactive, I get interactive into it, then the image Python, and I do a bash, like bash into it, I get something different. I am inside the Python image now, so I can begin to set up my project inside this Python image and see how it will work. So I would set up a simple project which I've initially set up. You can set up your own project too inside the image. What you just need to do is copy your files into the image the way your project is initially structured. If you're doing a Java project, copy your Java project into it the way you structured it, where your page object model structure is. Just try to create a simple thing. Don't create your whole project. Maybe something to just launch a site. Just do that. The idea is everything you will need to launch the site will still be used to launch your actual image. Your actual project, to execute your actual project. So whatever will be required to just launch the site for you would be enough to do the rest. So I can come here because I already have all of this done here. Yes, I think I have already done it here. If I do this here right now, I have everything I need to run this right now. I think if I do behave, this one would want to run. You get, yeah, it's running because it was able to launch the image. So what I did basically here is I had some commands. All right, I had some commands all here, right? I had some commands all here that I used to set up. So those commands are the things I would want to show you how to do. So let's get right into it. Let's start again. So I'm going to pause the video and make a quick I would use this particular image here, and I'll set up the whole folder again. How all my folder structure is, I'll set it up again and I will use it. So once I've set it up, I will now start doing the whole setup for you. So give me a minute. I'm going to pause the video and get that done. So once I set this project structure, we'll begin to install all the necessary commands and we'll see how it works. Okay, so I have copied all the things I need. If I do ls right now, you'll see the things I need there. I have data, features, pages, requirement.txt, and web config, and I have something hidden. Let me show you. If I do ls, I have a .env file also needed. Now if I try to run my code right now, I would have an issue. It would not run because there are some things not found, because it has not installed the image does not recognize behave. So I need to let it do all of that first. Now let me also add that I am using a Python image, so that means that I don't need a Python installer first. So that brings us back to what I said before, that if you are using a Windows system, you need to first install a Python interpreter and all. But if you're using a Mac system, Mac comes with a Python interpreter by itself, and so does a Linux system. It comes with a Python interpreter. So you might not, if you are comfortable with using Python 2, you can continue to use Python 2. But in this case now, so what that means that maybe if you start with an Ubuntu, what you first need to do is install your Python first. It will be part of the structure. So you must understand the structure of your code, of your script. So now that I'm using a Python image, I don't need to install Python. So in my requirements.txt file, I already have behave in it, and I already have the Windows config, the Selenium config in it. So I can just do from here, I can say pip install. It should read from the requirements. It should read from the requirement.txt file, and it should install. Because I already have a Python installer, it would install for me. As you can see, it is installing. Okay. Now it has done installing. Now it means I have a behave. So it means if I try to run the language, if I try to execute again now, behave, I should be able to run it, but I won't be able to run it because there are so many configs that are not available. So I would have issues. So it will return errors to me. And what are the errors right now? It says that no module called .env in where return behave where. So it means I've miscopied one of the files. Is login import.env in line 4. So no module.env. Okay, I'll quickly fix that. So I think that has been fixed. So if I try to run behave right now, what do I get? So it will give me an error that it won't see anything to run it with, so it will just skip everything. So nothing has passed because it is supposed to show me the scenario I've created, but nothing has happened because there is no Selenium. There is Selenium there already, and there is behave, but there is no Chrome browser or a Chrome driver. So which means that in my Docker file that I intend to create, I need to create a Chrome browser and a Chrome driver. So let's begin to create that now. Like I said, we need the Chrome driver, we need the Chrome browser, and we need some dependencies. So these dependencies, you don't need to stress yourself over it. You can just Google online, just type in. Remember, it's a Unix command, so you can say Unix command to download Chrome driver, Unix command to download dependencies, Unix command to download Chrome browser. or you could just search Docker for your what's it called, Docker for your project. Maybe it's a JavaScript enabled project, it's a Cypress project, it's a Java enabled project, it's a Python, a Ruby. Just do that. Just as long as you can get the right commands that you need to put. But more often than not, the commands are the same. To install a Chrome driver will be the same. To install a Chrome browser will probably be the same. So I have gone online, I have picked it. As you can see in the background, the commands are there. So I'm going to insert them one after the other. So the idea is I'll insert them one after the other, and I'll set it up into the framework, into my image right now. Once I'm done setting them up, I can try to run my project again, and it will run. And the next thing I just need to do is use the command called history in this place, in this particular place. Then all the commands I used in setting up the whole project will be given to me, so I can copy them out and start structuring my Docker file. And that's where the anatomy of Docker file I showed you earlier in the video would come in. So I'll pause the video to quickly copy and paste all of this inside, because I just have few minutes left. So I'll copy and paste, and when it's time to execute it, I will execute it. Then I'll copy it out again. Then I'll structure a Docker file for you. So all is done, it is set up, and I've already copied everything that I need to copy in it. So I'm going to try to run my behave command right now and see if it will work. Yeah, it works. So everything I've done inside, I can get it back. All the commands I've inserted into this place, I can get it back by just doing this history. It brings out all the commands for me, so I can just easily copy all of them, and I will structure from this. I can easily structure what's it called, a Docker file from it. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll copy this out, and when I do this, I will paste it somewhere. Then I'll structure my Docker file out. So when I do that, what I would have in essence would be something like this. Let me use this, then I'll use something else to explain. So I have something like this. So all the things I would need to do in my head, I can begin to make my script run. I can begin to do it here. You know, like I need a base image, like Python image, so I don't need to install Python anymore. You understand? And I can begin to, all the commands I put in that I showed you here, you understand? So I can begin to put them in by using the run command. To do that, but that looks like a long set of commands, because they are actually collected to do the same thing at the same point. You know, I structured them that way. So what I can do in essence is I can do something like this. And make it look this way. So with all the same commands, I can just use one run command and add this to the end, and move to the next line and run the same thing, and move to the next line and run the last thing. So you can do that. So I'll just use one run command, so it makes it more easier. So what I've done in essence is I used a Python. As you can see, the first one I showed you was from a 3.7 stretch, so I can use any Python image. As long as it's Python, it will be good for me, because I'm doing a Python project. So all these maintainers, you don't need everything. Don't forget to visit this place, anatomy of Docker file. I might add it if you'll be checking this on YouTube. I would probably add this link to the comment section, so you guys can check it out. So here you can do all of this. But one thing I just want to add is that once you create a Docker file, your automation script will be running in headless mode. So it means that your web config must have some additional headless options. So let's say you're using a Chrome driver, so you have you have to import some Chrome options and add some arguments like headless and sandbox and GPUs and the SHM. You add also a Windows specification, so those basic ones will let it run in headless mode conveniently. And I said I was going to mention CMD and entry point. You see, with CMD and entry point, they practically do the same thing. The only difference is that if you're going to use CMD and you want to make a modification to your command that will execute the code for you, you have to write the whole commands all over again. But for entry, you just need to add the prefix, the suffix rather. So let's say the command to run a behave project is behave. If you want to add, like maybe you want to run it in verbose, if your final point is command and it isn't entry, if it's command that you have here, it means that when you want to run it again, you have to write behave-v. But if you're using entry point, all you just need to do is docker run the image, then put an -v. It's going to work. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.